بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. Inshallah, to do a quick recap from last week, because I think some people were probably coming at 8 o'clock. We talked about the ill effects of sin and how sin can have a physical, as well as a spiritual effect upon a person. So does anybody remember some of the ill effects that sins can cause that the author was mentioning last week? We mentioned from the book last week. Loneliness? Yeah, that's one of the ill effects, but I don't know if we've got into that yet. So we talked about, remember how Adam and Hawa alayhimus salatu wassalam were removed from paradise because of sin, and how the people of Nuh were drowned because of sin, and the punishment of the people of Lot, and all the civilizations before that were destroyed because of the effects of sins, the evil effects of sins. So Imam Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah was discussing how falling into sin can lead to destruction, also physical destruction, not only spiritual destruction. We left off at the hadith of Ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu when he said that إِذَا ظَهَرَ الزِّنَا وَالرِّبَى فِي قَرْيَةٍ أَذْنَ اللَّهُ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ بِهِلَاكِهَا, that when zina or fornication or adultery and riba, usury, appear in a society, Allah gives permission for that society to be destroyed. And subhanAllah, even as we see in front of us, some of the most powerful industries unfortunately are related to fornication and interest in adultery, like the movie industry or the pornographic industry or the banking industry. These are like some of the major industries in the world, unfortunately, and these are one of the signs of the Day of Judgment, that also that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can send down a punishment because of them. Continuing on, the next hadith after that, he said, إِذَا أَظْهَرَ النَّاسُ الْعِلْمِ وَضَيَّعُوا الْعَمَلِ وَتَحَابُوا بِالْأَلْسِنِ وَتَبَاغَضُوا بِالْقُلُوبِ وَتَقَاطَعُوا الْأَرْحَامِ لَعَنَهُ اللَّهُ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ عِنْدَ ذَلِكَ فَأَصَمَّهُمْ وَعَمَى أَبْصَارَهُم. So from the narrations of Al-Hasan rahimahullah radiyallahu anhu, he says that when knowledge is present but acting upon that knowledge is missing, and when people appear to love each other with their tongues, saying I love you and I respect you, blah blah blah, but they hate each other with their hearts, and they cut the relations of the womb, Allah will send down His curse and cause them for their hearing and their eyesight to be sealed. Right. So we also see this in our time, subhanAllah, like there might be much knowledge around. We have the internet, we have all the books, we have everything, we know it, but where's the action? And then you find also people pay lip service, saying they love such and such, or they hold such and such in high esteem and respect, but in their hearts they have hatred. And we see this in many instances. For example, a person was respected and high up and beloved, and then he may make a mistake or something, and then everybody, or those people start saying, the same people that are saying good things about that person start saying bad things about him, because their love wasn't really real. And then taqatu al-arham, they start cutting the relation of the womb, not having familiar ties, not visiting your parents or your close relatives. This is also a way that can earn Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's wrath. There's another narration I read a while ago that from the signs of the Day of Judgment, it says يواصلون الأطباق ويقطعون الأرحام, that they will connect the dishes but they will cut the relations of the womb. And the scholars in the past used to think that connecting the dishes meant eating a lot of food and having these parties and stuff like that, and then they would cut the relation of the womb. But I've heard modern interpretations where they say that it could have been like the satellite dishes, the TVs, how people are so enthralled with the internet and TV and movies and stuff like that. They might be in the same room watching these things and ignore their own family members. So it's some of the signs we see right in front of us. Subhanallah. The next narration, he says, عن عمر بن الخطاب رضي الله عنه قال كنت عشر رهط من المهاجرين عند رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. I was one of the 10 of the close companions to the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم, from the muhajirin, the migrants. فأقبل علي رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم بوجهه فقال يا معشر المهاجرين خمس خصال أعوذ بالله أن تدركهن. So he said, the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم turned to face us and he said, the immigrants, the muhajirin, there are 5 characteristics. I seek refuge in Allah that you never see them. ما ظهرت الفاحشة في القوم حتى أعلنوا إلا ابتلئوا بالتواعين والأوجاع التي لم تكن في أسلافهم. There does not appear in a people fahisha except that they will be tried with like diseases and hunger that weren't there before. And fahisha usually in this context means like fornication, adultery, sodomy, these type of things. He's saying, subhanAllah, the Prophet is saying that when these things appear in a society and spread or widespread, that a disease will come that hasn't been existed before. And we can see that in front of our eyes, subhanAllah, all these sexually transmitted diseases that came about, right, as the illicit sexual intercourse spread, the rise of these diseases came more and more. Even today, subhanAllah, there's a strand of gonorrhea, they don't have a cure for it with modern medicine. It's so deadly. And very if you look in the medical books and see the effects of some of these diseases, it's scary. So these are the signs that the Prophet ﷺ is warning about. These sins bring about physical diseases and punishments. The second one, he says, وَلَا نَقَصَ قَوْمٍ الْمِكْيَالِ وَالْمِيزَانِ إِلَّا ابْتَلِئُوا بِالسِّنِينِ وَشِدَّةِ الْمَؤُونَةِ وَجَوْرِ السُّلْطَانِ. That people don't, cheat others in the scale, basically like haram business practices, trying to take advantage of other people and doing dhulm, except that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send down droughts and hardship and unjust ruler. وَمَا مَنَعَ قَوْمٌ زَكَاةَ أو زكاة أموالهم إلا منعوا القطر من السماء فلولا البهائم لم يمطروا ولا خفر قوم العهد. So the Prophet ﷺ said also that a person or people do not prevent giving the zakat except that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will prevent the rain from coming down from the sky. And he said if it wasn't for the animals, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would not let the rain come down. ولا خفر القوم العهد إلا سلط الله عليهم عدوا من غيرهم فأخذوا بعد ما في أيديهم وما لم تعمل أئمة بما أنزل الله عز وجل في كتابه إلا جعل الله بأسهم بينهم. So that people will not, if they don't keep their promises and their words, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send down an enemy upon them. When you lose the iman and when you break the trust, Allah will make an enemy take them over. And if people if their leaders don't act upon what Allah Azza wa Jal has revealed from His book, He will make enmity between them. And we see this, subhanAllah, in our ummah right now, and for the past several hundred years. When they stop practicing the Sharia of Islam and stop implementing in their lives, the leaders, then the evil and destruction and enmity starting between them, where they started fighting each other and destroying each other. Also the Prophet ﷺ, he says, إن من كان قبلكم كان إذا عمل العامل فيهم بالخطية جاءه النهي تعذيرا. Like before, when the people do something wrong, somebody would come and prevent them from doing that wrong, stop them from doing evil. And if that, as the time passed and the people stopped preventing others from doing evil, this was in the time of in the Bani Israel, Allah sent down a curse upon them upon the tongue of Dawood and Isa ibn Maryam. وَذَلِكَ بِمَا عَصَوْا وَكَانُوا يَعْتَدُونَ. Because they started transgressing the bounds and not forbidding the evil and encouraging the good, Allah sent a curse upon them. Also the Prophet ﷺ, he says that a narration came down to Yusha ibn Nun alayhi salatu salam, that Allah said, I will destroy 40,000 of your people, the best people, and I will destroy 60,000 of the worst of the people. And the Nun said, I know the reason for destroying the evil people, but why the good people? He said, because they did not forbid them from the evil and they used to socialize with them. So one of the means or the reasons of destruction from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is when people are content with evil around them and they don't prevent the evil. They allow it to go around them and they don't have any hatred in their heart for that evil. Also the Prophet ﷺ, he said that the angels were sent to destroy a village and they found a man praying in that village. So they went back and asked Allah, we found a person that's praying in the village, and Allah said to start with him. And the explanation of the hadith is, they asked why, and Allah said, because he never got angry for my sake. He saw all the evil around him and all the disobedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he never got angry for his sake. So Allah said to start with him. Another narration upon al-Mu'mineen Aisha radiallahu anha قالت إذا استباحوا الزنا وشربوا الخمور وضربوا بالمزاعف غار الله عز وجل في سمائه فقال الأرض تزلزلي بهم فانتابوا ونزعوا وإلا هدمهم عليها قال يا المؤمنين عذابا لهم قالت بلى وموعظة ورحمة للمؤمنين. So the mother of the believers, Aisha radiallahu anha, she said that if zina is spread amongst the people and drinking the wine and playing the instruments, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala becomes angry and he sends down earthquakes. And she says earthquakes that would destroy them. And the Sahaba, they asked her, O mother of the believers, is this a punishment from Allah? And she said, yes, verily it is a punishment from Allah for those who are transgressing, and it's a rahmah and a mercy for the believers. Why would it be a rahmah and a mercy for the believers? So she said, earthquakes a punishment for those who are transgressing, but it's a rahmah and a mercy for the believers. Why? It's a reminder. Because you see those signs and you take heed from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you fear from falling and transgressing against Him. So it's a blessing for the believers, right? That's why as we see these signs around us, we should take heed. Some people take it as entertainment and say Mother Nature and etc. But Muslim, a believer, he takes it as a warning from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you thank Allah that you weren't in it. And you feel sorry for those who were. And you take heed to better yourself to avoid it. And there's other narrations of how the earth trembled at the time of the Prophet ﷺ and how scared he was. And Umar radiallahu anhu, at his time they said that a quake happened also, and he said, if it were to occur, I will not live in this land. That's how scared they were of having earthquakes, because they saw that it might be a sign for the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وقال كعب إنما تزلزل الأرض إذا عمل فيها بالمعاصي فترعد فرقا من رب جل جلاله أن يطلع عليها. He said that the earthquakes, they occur because of a punishment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon the people. And basically the ones who have fear from Allah, they shake, right? And they're very keen not to fall into sin because of fear of this earthquake coming upon them. And Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, he was one of the very pious leaders of the Salaf, rahimahullah, and he was actually a Khalifa and a scholar. He said, he wrote to the people around him, أما بعد, like all, when he was the Khalifa, he wrote to all the different governorships around him, saying, أما بعد فإن هذه رجف شيء يعاتب الله عز وجل بعد العباد أو يعاتب الله به العباد وقد كتبت إلى الأمصار أن يخرجوا في يوم كذا وكذا في شهر كذا وكذا فمن كان عنده شيء فليتصدق به فإن الله عز وجل يقول قد أفلح من تزكى وذكر اسم ربه فصلى. So Umar ibn Aziz, he sent letters to all his governors telling to order the people, if they have extra money, to give it for zakat, to prevent these earthquakes and natural punishments from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to coming to them. He said, because Allah says, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ تَزَكَّى, that he has succeeded who gives his zakat. وَذَكَّرَ اسْمَ رَبِّهِ فَصَلَّى, and he remembers his Lord and prays. And then he wrote, also tell the people, your citizens and your country, to say the saying of Adam alayhi salam. قال ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. Say, O my Lord, we have transgressed upon ourselves, and if you do not forgive us or have mercy upon us, we will be of the losers. And he told them to tell the people to say the saying of Nuh, وإلا تغفر لي وترحمني أكن من الخاسرين. If you do not forgive me and have mercy upon me, I will be of the losers. And he said, say the saying of Yunus, لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إني كنت من الظالمين. Oh, there is no one worthy of worship except you, O Allah. Glory be to you, I was of the wrongdoers. So he was saying to the people to give sadaqah and pray and remember Allah and say these du'as so Allah will not punish us. Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, it's good to know about him. He was one of the most pious of the predecessors. One time he was asked by his cousin, he had so much work to do and he couldn't do it in that one day, so the cousin said, why don't you just wait till tomorrow? And he said, I have so much work today, how can I wait till tomorrow? And what is guaranteed for tomorrow when I will be asked in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for my responsibilities? So the lesson of not procrastinating. So these are the true leaders of Islam, and these are the ones that we try to emulate and follow and get close to. The next narration is by Imam Ahmed. Inshallah, one day we'll talk about him as well, and his beautiful lessons that he taught the Ummah. So he said, حدثنا أسود بن عامر حدثنا أبو بكر عن العامش عن عطاء بن أبي رباح عن ابن عمر قال سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا ظن الناس بالدنانير والدراهم وتابعوا بالعينة وتبعوا أذناب البقر وتركوا الجهاد في سبيل الله أنزل الله بهم بلاء لا يرفعه حتى يراجعوا دينهم. That the Prophet ﷺ said, if the people become occupied with coin and dollar, and they follow like the farming and the cattle, etc., and they leave the fighting in the cause of Allah, Allah will send down upon them a punishment, and He won't lift it from them until they come back to their deen. And we see that in our history. When the Muslims started getting occupied so much with the dunya, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down upon them disgrace and punishment, colonialization, poverty. We have, if we take our countries, the highest resources in the world, like from natural resources in terms of oil, in terms of wheat, in production, chemicals, everything you can think of in our nations we have. Yet we are backwards. Why? Because they forgot Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They got busy with the dunya and they forgot the akhirah. Whereas in the past, when they were busy with the akhirah, Allah gave them the dunya. Right? So these are signs and warnings for us to get our priorities straight, so we can prevent or hopefully stop Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's punishment from coming down upon us. And it starts with the individual. You don't have to think about the nations, but start with yourself, like correcting yourself, correcting your family, trying to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The more pious you are, the more closer you get to Allah, the better the change you can make. You might get so close to Allah that Allah answers your dua. That one dua that can save a nation, that can change a nation. And it's tough because we have so much temptations and distractions and filth around us, but that's why we have to try even harder to cleanse ourselves, purify our hearts, and get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You only have one chance, and you never know what good you can do or how you can affect the ummah. It starts with you. Start looking at yourself as an individual, as a means of change. Try to change. If your family's not on board, give them the guidance to come back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If the friends that you hang around with need, they're away from the deen, call them back to the deen. You don't want to be of those people that are content to be around evil and not say anything about it or not correct it, right? Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he was rahmatan lil alameen, a mercy to the mankind. Bil mu'mineen ra'uf rahim. Why? Because he called them to the good and he forbade them from the evil. Even after his people, mistreated him and ridiculed him and, basically tortured the Prophet ﷺ, all he wanted was to come to Islam. Right? Even after all that, he still made dua for them. He still kept calling them to Islam. When he was stoned in Ta'if, because he went there after being not successful in Medina, and they started throwing stones at him until he bled, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the angel came to him asking him, do you want me to take this mountain and destroy these people? What did he say? No, maybe from their offspring will be believers. His goal was to call people to the deen, to make islah. That's the rahmah we have. How can we live in a society and not care about those around us? How can you live and see evil like right in front of you and not try to correct it? We can open the floor for questions now, inshallah, and then we'll continue on the same chapter next week. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه الغفور الرحيم. Anybody have any questions or comments or suggestions, inshallah? Yeah, so we'll get into it more, inshallah, I think, with some of the other narrations. But the Prophet ﷺ said, من رأى منكم منكرا فليغيروا بيده فإن لم يستطع فبلسانه فإن لم يستطع فبقلبه وذلك أضعف الإيمان. So whoever amongst you sees the evil, he should change it with his hand. If he's not able to do so, he should change it with his tongue. If he's not able to do so, then he should hate it in his heart, right? So the scholars say that there's no excuse for you not to have hatred in your heart for something that Allah Azza wa Jal hates or is forbidden. If you see like an evil in front of you and you can't change it physically, you can't change it by, for example, if you say something it might result in a greater evil or greater harm to yourself, at least you have the hatred in your heart. So the explanation in this hadith, the person, even though he was praying and he was good, he didn't have that hatred in his heart for the evil, the smallest part of faith. So Allah said to start with him. And it's a higher level, but like Aisha radiallahu anha, she said, وَهَلَ الدِّينُ إِلَّا الْبُغْضُ وَالْحُبُّ فِي اللَّهِ. Is not religion hating and loving for the sake of Allah? La ilaha, negation, hating all that is worshipped or idolized besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Illallah, loving all that which is dear to Allah, loving the statement of La ilaha illallah, loving Allah, loving the Messenger, loving the deen of Islam. Right? So deen is built upon love and hate. We love the good that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent down for us, and we hate the evil. We love for Allah to be worshipped and goodness to spread amongst the people, and we hate for evil to spread amongst the people. So that's the main pillar of our Islam. كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر. You are the best of nations because you forbid the evil and enjoy the good, or enjoy the good and forbid the evil. If you lose this aspect of the religion, then khalas, you've lost the main aspect that makes you a great nation, right? Because the point we say over and over again, this dunya is a transportation to the akhirah. It's not our temporary, it's our temporary abode, it's not our permanent abode. But in our temporary abode we have laws to follow to get to the akhirah, right? And anything Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made legislated is for our own good. Allah doesn't need anything from us. And anything He has forbidden, it's something that's harmful to us, right? So in following that, we bring goodness to ourselves, we bring goodness to society. And that's why it's an important part of our deen to encourage the good and forbid the evil. And we all fall short, obviously we all make mistakes, but it shouldn't stop us from continuing and trying and advising. Wallahu a'lam. Okay. Reminder of Akhirah? Ashura, Jazakallah khair, yes. Okay. So yes, Bismillah, Alhamdulillah, wa salatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah. Obviously this is Muharram. It's the new year for the Muslims in the Hijri year. The Prophet ﷺ used to fast the most in this month after all the other months except Ramadan. And in it is the day of Ashura, which the Prophet ﷺ said, if you fasted, Allah will forgive you the previous year's sins. And the Prophet ﷺ said, if you're able to fast a day with it, for example, the 9th or the 10th. If you want to be really like hardcore, inshallah, you have a lot of opportunities now. So you have tomorrow, the Khamis, the Thursday when your good deeds are raised up. Then Friday is the 9th and the 10th of Muharram together. And then you can do the 11th to make all three, which is the scholars say the best form. And then you have Monday, which is the 12th, and it's also sunnah to fast on Mondays. And if you want to be like super hardcore, you have the 3 days of the lunar, the full moon, the 13th, 14th, and 15th. So it's good opportunities now to take advantage of fasting, inshallah, and getting the extra blessings. The day is celebrated, we should all know, is when Musa alayhi salam was saved from the Fir'aun and his army, right? And that's a great lesson for us in yaqeen, certainty. When you go back and read the story in the Quran, how Musa and his people were being chased by the greatest army from one of the greatest civilizations in the world at that time. And they had nowhere to go. The sea was in front of them, the army was behind them, right? And Musa's own people, his own companions, Ashabu Musa, قَالَ إِنَّا لَمَدْرُكُونَ, we're reached, we're caught, what are you doing to us? Doubting the Prophet Musa, right? And what did he say? كَلَّا إِنَّ مَعَيَ رَبِّي سَيَهْدِينَ. No, Allah is with me, He will guide me, He will protect me, He knows what's good for me. He never doubted in his heart 1 second. You can imagine, just like go back and read those ayats and think about that picture. The huge army behind you, the sea in front of you, nowhere to go, and Musa didn't doubt. Right. So one of the lessons we take from Ashura, the Prophet ﷺ said that we are closer to Musa than you. So we take that lesson of yaqeen and try to increase our certainty in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inshallah, we have a talk about that another day, but it's one of the lessons of Ashura we should take with us. And from yaqeen is doing the extra good deeds, like we said, the fasting these days. Yeah, inshallah it goes for both. So if you can, give sadaqah during these days too. Like we said before, the Salaf used to sanctify the 3 10s, the last 10 nights of Ramadan, the first 10 days of al-Hijrah, and the first 10 days of Muharram. So we're in these first 10 days of Muharram, and it's a time to restart your intentions. Like say you were doing something wrong the previous year, like you had a certain sin, it's a good time to try to get over that sin. Or say there was something you were falling short with in a good deed, it's a good time to renew your intention, to make like a so-called New Year resolution to do this good deed, so you can get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah, He gave you a chance to live another year, many people passed away this last year, Islamic year. They're not here to do anymore. They can't pray anymore, they can't fast anymore, they can't do any pilgrimages, or we can't give sadaqah, their khalas, their deeds are stopped. But Allah gave us this opportunity in this life that we can still do something good. So take advantage of it. Like I just got the news of one of my friends in Tunis, and he is a member of this community. His daughters grew up here. You guys might know some of his daughters, Zainab and Miriam. They're from Tunisia originally. Their father just had a stroke. He's still kind of relatively young, and he's in a coma in an intensive care unit. He just came back from Hajj, right? And he said he was perfectly fine and happy and everything, and then subhanAllah, he just fell into a stroke, and he's in a coma right now in an intensive care unit. So you never know when something can happen to you. So take advantage of trying to do the good deeds before it's too late. Especially these days, inshallah, start your new year off fresh and start with a good intention, renew your intention to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are chances that we might not get again. So this fasting these days, inshallah, you have this charity event, you can give sadaqah, and any extra good deeds you can do, take advantage of it before it's too late. Alright. Yeah. جزاكم الله خير. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.